Well, for a while now, most of the videos circulating on the internet are only talking about the climate crisis we're currently experiencing. Today, I've decided to talk to you about all the crops that, despite this difficult situation, are doing perfectly well in my garden. Beyond the crops, it's about a system I wanted to share that not only gives me great yields, but is also very water efficient. This year, we're facing a historic drought. I couldn't have imagined a better way to test this system's effectiveness. Today we'll discuss this sand-based system, explain what it is, and highlight its main advantages. Since perfection doesn't exist, we'll also discuss this system's downsides. Let's begin before I talk about this sand-based system and how effective it is. We'll take a quick detour to some other crops in the greenhouse that are doing well. I have wild wildaga. Behind that, I have some chili plants. I've never had such beautiful chilies. I have some sensitive plants. Well, the plants are really very, very beautiful. Yet we're in the greenhouse, south-facing. The temperatures reach or even exceed 45 degrees when it's really hot, and still the plants are beautiful. And the secret to that? Well, it starts with very good soil, well-nourished, well-prepared, and above all, well, it's watered every day. So it's great for the crops, but when it comes to saving water, I don't think we're doing very well. The area must be about 4 square meters, and I'm really just making a rough estimate here. But I think we're using more than 30 or 40 liters of water per day on this small area. And so we'll see, well, how we could get the same results, but also save water. So here is the machine in question. I call it my little propagation setup. It's basically a sand-based system, since the plants are mainly grown in sand. So let me show it to you. Basically, it's a tray that's 4 meters long, 1.5 meters wide, and 40 centimeters deep, filled only with river sand. Under this tray is a water reservoir that holds 1 cubic meter. There's a special pond pump that will turn on several times a day to circulate the water and water the plants a little from above. And so the water that then trickles through the sand will come out at the bottom of the tray to return to the reservoir. So it's a closed loop system. For water savings, this is the best option. The only loss is from plant evaporation. So basically that's the system. It's not more complicated than that. If you really want a more detailed presentation, if you want to be able to do the same thing at home, I'll point you to a video I made where I really present the system in detail and all the design and construction steps. Check out that video for more on the system. I'll quickly show you some plants I have in it so you can see how effective it is. Maybe I'll make a more detailed video later about some of the unique plants I have in there. Originally, the system was designed for making cuttings, so I've made quite a few in there. Here, I'm just showing you something I did very recently. It's mint verbena, Epia polystachya, so it's a small verbena. I just cut some stems and planted them in the sand. I did this recently, so there shouldn't be many roots yet. They're shaded under other plants, and it looks like they've started growing roots. It would be interesting to see. They're mostly the same small plants. A few weeks later, so this and this is the same, just small stems I put in several weeks ago and then forgot about. Well, I didn't have time to take them out, so I'm leaving them in the sand for now. Well, look at the size. It was just a small stem originally. You can see how big it's starting to get. It's becoming pretty huge down there. I had some aloe vera that didn't look good, so I put them in the sand for now. And now I think they've grown some nice roots. So this is something I took out of the sand a while ago. I don't know if you've ever tried this. If you eat a pineapple, cut off the top and put it in a little bit of water, and you'll see, if you're lucky, it can grow roots. Well, in the cutting tray, it works really, really well. And now I have a pineapple plant that looks amazing. And up until today, all the plants I've tried in the system take root and grow really, really well. I've never seen cuttings take so easily. So yeah, the system is already very effective. And so, in addition, there are plants that are placed directly in the sand to be propagated. For the summer, so I can take a vacation, I've put potted plants in the back that are just slightly buried in the sand, and through capillary action, the pots will stay moist. After the sprinkler runs automatically each day, it only waters the top a little and doesn't cover all the pots evenly. Since it's in the sand, the roots just need to extend slightly below the pot to reach water. And from there, the plants are doing very well. So among the plants I have in pots, I have a few, dancing plants. Codario calyx motorius. It's the plant that will move its leaves when it hears music. I'll tell you about this plant very soon because it's a truly phenomenal plant. Om Mani Padme Hum. And next to that, well, I have lots of different peppers. Here, this is the Angyao Big Bang. It's a Chinese pepper that was in the Chinese space station. Yes, I admit, if we're being original here, we're truly original. That's the Serrano purple in the back. Also magnificent. I have different types of jalapenos. There we have the lemon jalapeno, which turns yellow. I have aji peppers, or maybe it's pronounced Ari. Here there's the Ari Fantasy, which has a pretty incredible shape, and the Ari pineapple. When this ripens, it'll turn yellow and look nice. These peppers aren't very hot, about as spicy as cayenne. They're still a bit spicy, but next to them, I have some really hot ones. Here you have the Sugar Rush pepper, which is already about twice as hot, 2.5 times hotter than cayenne pepper. Here we have the Shiro Roxa, which is also very hot, about 2 or 3 times hotter than cayenne pepper. Plus it produces beautiful fruits, right? So with these peppers, we're at about 80,000 Scoville units. So like I said, that's about twice as hot as cayenne. And then we have some killers like the Torse Underbolt. Here we're at over 300, 400,000 units. So that's about 10 times hotter than cayenne pepper, I'd say. And on top of that, it's very pretty. And then, well, we have the real terrors in the back, like the Bhut Jolokia. So here we're at almost 1 million Scoville units. For comparison, cayenne is 40,000 units and here it's 1 million, so it's really, really hot. Former world record and new world record with Carolina Reaper or even Chocolate Tripper. Here we're almost at 2 million Scoville units, so it's dangerous. I don't eat those peppers, but I find them beautiful. I could talk about them for hours, but that's not the point of this video, especially since I have over 30 varieties here. I haven't shown you anything yet, but I'll make a full video on this soon. Since we'll sell these pepper seeds this fall, we'll revisit the topic soon. Here, the idea was mainly to show you just how beautiful the crops are and how efficient our system is. So, as I was saying, it's a closed loop system with a water reservoir in a tank, and everything is watered automatically every day. So it basically runs on its own. That means I don't have anything else to do except make sure everything is going well, and if needed, refill the tank, because it does empty gradually since the plants, as they grow, evaporate water, and that's the only loss we have. So the tank holds 1 cubic meter, 1,000 liters, and I have to add, let's say, about 100 liters every 10 days. That means that across this whole area with this amount of crops, I'm going to lose about 10 liters a day. There you go. I think that in terms of water savings, you can't do better than this, since the plants evaporate water anyway, naturally, just like with the crops in the ground that I showed you at the beginning of the video. The cutting tray is in the greenhouse in full sun, so I still put some shade cloths over it to give the plants a bit of shade, because the sun is a bit strong. But the temperature in the greenhouse goes over 40 or 45 degrees most of the time when it's hot right now. So this kind of growing area is where the plants should be suffering a bit from the heat. But since they have all the water they want, well, they grow very, very well. The system could definitely evolve. For now, it's just a water reservoir and the plants growing with their roots in sand. That's why we call it sand at the roots. It's very close to aquaponics. It's the same kind of system, except that there are fish in the water. And besides growing plants, we also raise fish to consume later. Currently, aside from a few small gambusia I added to eat mosquito larvae, there would otherwise be mosquitoes in the tank. People often mention that to me. The main reason for having fish is to eat mosquito larvae, but I could also add larger fish that are good to eat, and to have another type of production on that side. And the other interesting thing with the fish, besides producing fish, is that the fish waste will fertilize the water, and that will better nourish the plants. The peppers look great because their pots filled with soil sit in sand, allowing roots to extend from the pots into the sand below. But most of their roots are still in potting soil, which means they're being nourished. And the water in the reservoir isn't fertilized at all, it's just water. And I'll come back to the topic of fertility, because that can be one of the problems with this system. And so now I'm going to talk to you about the different problems I have with this system. The first problem, in quotes, is the size. When we got the plants, I really didn't expect them to grow this much. I have to admit, I've never seen pepper plants this beautiful and that grow this big. And so, well, the plants are very dense, kind of on top of each other. Maybe underneath there's a bit of a lack of light, but on the other hand, it creates some cool areas to make cuttings directly in the sand below. But anyway, I think that we're still, it's mid-July, end of July. There will come a time when the plants won't have enough space. Maybe I'll have to prune a bit, I'll see. Here's the first problem, in quotes. As I mentioned, it's kind of a luxury problem. Things are just growing too well. The second problem concerns fertility. For now, the plants are mostly rooted in the potting soil, and the roots go into the sand underneath to look for water. But the more they grow, the more roots they put into the sand. And that's where they go to get their nutrients, except there aren't any nutrients there. Several plants, compared to those growing directly in the ground, now have slightly lighter green foliage. They're clearly starting to lack nutrients. What I can do to fix that is maybe fertilize a little more in the pots. I don't know with what yet. I have some poultry guano that I'll dilute. I'll try watering the plants a little with that. The only concern I have now if I do that is that the water in my tank will end up loaded with nitrogen and other fertilizing elements, but mostly nitrogen. And I'm afraid that as a result, algae will develop in this water, and if algae grows, it will clog the nozzles of the irrigation system. And that's it shouldn't happen. Originally, it wasn't at all a system where I wanted the water to be fertilized, I just wanted it to be water, since it's a cloning machine. The system was originally designed to produce cuttings, and once the plants are well rooted, I'm supposed to take them out of the sand to put them in pots or directly in the ground and grow them in a more nutritious substrate. Which brings me to the last problem I see with this system. It's the produce we're going to get from the plants that have grown in this system. I think that in terms of nutrition and taste, it's not going to be amazing. I think the plants that have spent their whole lives with their roots in sand and water, it won't be nearly as good as plants that have grown in real soil and have a real taste of terroir. Well, if you've already tried aquaponics yourself, I've already gotten this kind of response in aquaponics with well-fertilized water. Yields remain interesting, but this must be weighed against the major advantage of significant water savings with this system. But now I'm really starting to ask myself questions about, well, the limits of, how should I say, which category of cultivation this should be placed in. I'm kind of associated with permaculture. We're certified organic here, so we try to do things in the most ecological way possible. And alongside that, we're developing systems that are similar to soilless cultivation, the kind you see in large-scale conventional farming where the plants never even touch the soil. It's fertilized water, and here we're only using natural inputs in it, but it's still soilless cultivation. So I really wonder, how far will this go? Where does it stop? This kind of system is interesting. And then at what point do I realize that I'm betraying my own values and ideals? Anyway, I'd be glad to hear your thoughts on this. Alright, I'm at the end of this video, but I still have a few important things to tell you. Well, first, I'm finally going to take a vacation, so I'll be away from YouTube. There won't be any new videos, at least for the next few weeks, so feel free to keep asking questions if you have any. I'll try to answer them anyway. On my end, I'll be thinking about what new and original things I could offer you for when I come back. Also, if you have ideas or suggestions, don't hesitate. And well, last important point, as I said at the beginning of the video, I wanted to finish my season on a somewhat positive note. Despite the horrible climate situation we're experiencing, I don't know if everyone realizes the extent of the tragedy we're currently living through. Here we're in Tarn near Albi, and there's no problem here, but every day we can smell the smoke from the fires in Gironde. So I wanted to take this opportunity in this video to express my support to all the residents, farmers, foresters, and everyone affected by the fires that we have right now in Gironde, but also in Var and elsewhere in France, in Italy and other places in the world. It's burning everywhere right now, and what we're experiencing is really dramatic. And I have a hard time imagining the extent of the suffering you must be feeling. So we're thinking of you every moment with great sadness, and we wish you a lot of strength to face the tragedies you're going through. Stay strong, everyone. Well, that's it. I'll see you again in a few weeks for more videos. In the meantime, well, you can always subscribe, like, share, all that as usual at the end of the video. You can also support me financially if you want. Maybe you can also go support those who are facing the flames. Anyway, I hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.